Alright, it's time to talk about Ty Jerome. Now you might be asking yourself, who is Ty Jerome? Is that a real basketball player? Is that someone who actually plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers? And as of recording this on October 8th, yes, he is. Ty Jerome basically missed all of last season with an ankle sprain. Yes, an ankle sprain. I mean, to be fair, it was a severe ankle sprain, but still, it was a wild injury to follow. But thankfully, that all seems to be behind us. Now, Jerome's mixtape from last season is a grand total of 48 seconds long, so if you want to catch up with how he looked back then, go ahead and check it out. But I feel confident we are going to get a larger sample size this year, and according to Kobe Altman, Jerome would have been in consideration for the MVP of September, which is truly quite an honor. So I thought we should talk about who Ty Jerome is and why he might actually surprise you this season with the Cavs, because honestly, most people probably aren't familiar with Jerome, but he could be an impact player. And look, it's not like we have zero NBA footage of this guy. He has played multiple seasons in the league with a few different teams. He probably had his best season in 2023 with the Warriors, and since then we've just been waiting to see him on the floor again. So let's keep this simple. What does Ty Jerome bring to the Cavs? Well, at his best, he's a traditional point guard who can set the table and dish out assists while keeping his turnovers down. He has taken great care of the ball throughout his career with an assist to turnover ratio of 3.09, which is really good. Now obviously this is a small sample size. Even when you look at his full career, Jerome has only appeared in 159 games and he wasn't being asked to do all that much in those minutes, but this is still a legit skill for him. Jerome makes good reads with the ball and he is a smart, high IQ point guard who can be trusted to run an offense through the motions. Outside of that, Jerome can also provide a little bit of spacing. He's a career 35% three-point shooter, which doesn't sound great, but he was above 40% on over 160 attempts as a sophomore, and then in his most recent season with the Warriors, Jerome hit on 38% of his attempts, so his resume is a little spotty in this regard, but I think he has real shooting touch and will probably turn in an efficient season with the Cavs. And so that's basically what you're hoping to get from Jerome. Steady playmaking and consistent three-point shooting. When you put those two things together, you have a quality backup or third string point guard. And if you're wondering what is holding Jerome back from being more than that, well, like I said, his three-point shooting has been a little spotty. He was below 30% in his third season, but honestly, I'm not overly worried about this. I do think he'll be just fine. Really, the problem for Jerome is that he can often just be a quiet presence when he's on the floor. Like, you might not notice him, he doesn't stand out one way or another, and there's not that much to his offensive game aside from making simple, easy reads or hitting stationary shots. He showed a little bit of pull-up shooting ability, but he's not a guy who's really going to break you down and get to the rim. He's not great at finishing there, and he has a weird looking floater which has been relatively effective, but overall Jerome isn't a 3-level scorer or a guy who's going to create advantages at a high level. He's mostly just going to exist. And while I actually think the Cavs would benefit from someone like that on their bench, it's the reason why Jerome hasn't earned more minutes in the NBA up to this point. He mainly needs to assert himself a little more offensively, and by that I mean he needs to create more advantages, because again, Jerome oftentimes is just running the offense through its motions, which has its benefits, but it's nothing that jumps off the page. Now, Jerome hasn't really been much of a defender throughout his career, and that's probably the biggest concern I have for him. He's 6'5", so it's not like he's undersized or just can't hang, but he's not really a great athlete, and there hasn't been much to latch onto for him so far throughout his career. I do think the Cavs can offer him a ton of security with the two bigs covering up for him, so I'd expect Jerome will be able to overcome any concerns here, but if he was able to improve and be more of a scrappy, annoying deterrent for opposing ball handlers, then that would be great. And anyways, that's basically my thoughts on Ty Jerome. This was a really short video, but it's because there's not much to say until we get to see him on the court. He's not going to be a showstopper or change everything for the Cavs, but I do think Jerome can be a steady presence off the bench who will quickly become a fan favorite, and he could be a plus-minus god this season if he remains as consistent as I think he can be. But let me know in the comments what you think about Jerome. Is this a silly discussion that won't matter, or will he actually provide some helpful depth for the rotation? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you enjoyed this preview, then go ahead and hit subscribe and drop a like. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that support, and with all that being said, go Cavs.